All right, now for some reason, some people try and make it seem as if there's a problem. There's something wrong if you compare yourself against other people. It almost makes it seem as if you're doing that, you're jealous of that person, or you are envious of another person's position. I don't think it's that way at all. I think it's just a matter of being competitive. That's the spirit of competition. That's a way of measuring yourself against your peers, against other people in the world that we live in. We live here in America. There's 330 million people here. There's a very competitive world, very competitive space that we live in. So in order to know how you measure up, where you stand on the totem pole, you measure yourself against others. That's just a natural part of being a human, I believe. Now for me, and I know this is not for everybody, but I've always enjoyed competing. I've always enjoyed competition because I believe competition allows for me to go within me and get the very best out of me. When I'm competing against others, the very best of Brandon comes to the top. And I've never wanted to be average. I've always wanted to exceed what average people can do, what average athletes can do, what an average business owner can do, what an average entrepreneur can do, what an average soldier can do. I've always wanted to go and be better than average. Because how I look at it is average people live average lives, and average has never been good enough for me. But how do you know you're not average? Everybody says, I'm not average. I don't do the same things that everybody else does. I'm different. But what makes you different? Because you go to work every day just like everybody else does. You live about the same lifestyle that everybody else does. You make about the same money as everybody else does. So what really makes you different? When you really start to look at yourself, when you start to look at your life, what's different about your life and the average person? What you'll find is not much in most cases. But if you really want to make a change, first you have to learn what the average people do, what the average amount of money people are making, what the average amount of money people are saving. And it's not just about money, it's about the whole lifestyle, how you lead your life, how you look at life. Is it an average way of looking at life, or is it above average in how you see life? What's your paradigm? And do you need to have a paradigm shift? We're going to talk about some tangible things that you can take a look at since we're talking about business, since we're talking about being an entrepreneur. These are some things that you can measure, some key performance indicators that you can take a look at in your own business to know whether or not you're average. So let's take a look at number one. Now, the things that I'm going to cover are not in any specific order. We're starting off with number one, and we're talking about how much money a business makes, because that is important. Although that's not the most important, it is an important piece of being an entrepreneur. So the average entrepreneur in America makes about roughly $60,000. $60,000. Now, you hear a lot of people talking about making loads and loads of money, hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars as business owners. But now, that is not the norm. When we're talking about the average business owner, we're talking about $60,000. So if you're making above $60,000, you're doing better than the average. Now, the second thing that I want to talk about that separates you from the average entrepreneur is how much money you actually keep. I hear people talk about a lot about how much money they make. I think they wear that like a badge of honor on their chest. I make X amount of dollars, and that's good. But the question is not necessarily how much you make. How much do you get from what you make? How much do you keep? And what you'll find when you start to study the numbers is that 37% of entrepreneurs don't even have a retirement plan. They're not even planning for their future. So you don't want to be in that group. You want to elevate yourself from that group and at least start to look at retirement plans for yourself, because that's the whole purpose in working, to pay yourself. You're paying yourself for the work that you're putting into the business. Yes, we make a lot of excuses why we don't have retirement plans. Some people say they don't make enough money. Other people say that they put most of their money back into the business. And all of that is good. You have to put money back into the business, but at some point you have to start putting money into your future, putting money into yourself. That is a purpose of a business, is so that you can get paid. Yes, you have to pay your bills so that the business can keep running, but you're putting the work in for a reason. Your business should be benefiting you at some point, and the sooner, the better. So separate yourself from the average freight broker, the average entrepreneur. Make sure that you have a plan in place, a retirement plan. Now, the third thing that I want to talk to you about is average entrepreneurs don't have a tax plan. They don't have a tax strategy. What their plan consists of is someone doing their taxes at the end of the year, and then this person telling you, oh, you have to pay the government X amount of dollars. You have to pay the state X amount of dollars. And this happens every year. But that's not doing much for you as a business owner. That's not allowing for you to keep more of your money in-house. You see, tax is your biggest liability in most cases as a business owner. So when you have a big liability, you want to keep your eyes on that liability and you want to minimize that as much as possible. And who helps you to minimize your tax liability is a good CPA. A CPA knows about tax strategy. He knows about tax law, and he can help you plan throughout the year. This is someone you should be sitting down with a couple of times throughout the year to make sure you're on the right track, to make sure that you have the right deductions marked that you're going to take at the end of the year, to make sure that you have the right plan that's going to help you to decrease your tax liability. Most of us don't even know the amount of tax you're paying, what your tax percentage is that you're paying every year. You want to make sure that you understand that, because when you know the percentage that you're paying, then you can do something to minimize it. But when you don't know, you're just paying money to the government, you're just paying money to the state, you are getting the worst end of that deal. So don't be average, separate yourself from the average and get you a good CPA to help minimize your tax liability. Now, next, what I want to talk to you about, average entrepreneurs wear all of the hats in their business. They are responsible for everything in the business. They are the CEO in the business, the operations manager, sales manager. They take on all of the responsibilities in the business, and that business is their baby. And yes, we have to start out that way. You'll start out where you're responsible for most of everything in the business. But in order for the business to grow, in order for you to start to be able to focus on other tasks that are going to allow for that growth, you have to be able to go out and delegate those responsibilities to someone else. You have to be able to go out and hire someone else to do certain things that you don't want to do. For example, you're at some point going to want to hire an administrative person to come in and do tasks, the trivial tasks that don't tie up your time so you can focus on other things. And average entrepreneurs just take on all that responsibility, and they keep doing that for the life of their business, and they're not able to grow as business owners, as entrepreneurs. So make sure that you take a look at your business that you're running and start to say to yourself, okay, these are the tasks that I'm going to do on my own, and these are some of the tasks that I'm going to say, you know what, I'm going to hire someone to take care of these tasks. That is what's going to allow for you to grow, and growth is necessary for your success. So those are a few areas that I wanted to share with you that you can focus on separating yourself from the average. Now, it's good to be better than average, but it's even better to get yourself in the top 10%. Strive to be your best, your very best. Have a great day. Have a great rest of your week. If you're interested in learning more about the freight broker business, I'll leave a free link in the description. It's my 5-video series titled How the Load Movement Process Works. Gives you a look at the business before you come into it so you can get a good idea of how it works. And then if you're interested in learning more about how load boards work, I'll leave you a free link right here with a free load board training. So until the next time, I wish you the very best in your life and business. See you at the top, because the bottom is much too crowded.